everybody. So I just got back from seeing Spider-Man Homecoming, and I went into it with kind of mixed expectations because I was excited about it because I liked Civil War and I really liked Tom Holland as Spider-Man in Civil War. And so I was excited, but then I have not really liked a lot of the marketing. I didn't really like the poster. I didn't really like the most recent trailer. I felt like it gave away way too much, and it kind of did. But I don't know. I just was like, I'm sort of not feeling it all of a sudden. And so I went in with these mixed expectations, but I always try to set those aside and just watch the movie. And so here's some of my initial thoughts coming out of the film. So in my opinion, this film is very entertaining, very enjoyable. It's a solid, entertaining Spider-Man movie. And I think, especially if I was a teenager, I would love this movie. And I would have had so much fun with it, especially, just getting into things like Homecoming and, liking boys or liking girls, depending on what you dig. And the awkwardness, the strangeness, the high school parties, things like that all felt really, really, really real and really good. And something I would have loved when I was that age. One of my friends on Twitter described it as a great slumber party movie. And I think that's really true. And Tom Holland is absolutely great as the lead. He is so charismatic. He's so fun. And he feels young. He feels like a teenager. And that's really satisfying and interesting as someone we haven't seen in Spider-Man. And I also liked his friend, Ned. I thought that he was really, really sincere and funny and the kind of character that I think Peter would actually be friends with. So it made sense to me that they were friends. It worked. And I also really liked Tony Stark in this movie. It is true that he isn't in it as much as the trailers would let you go on, but I felt like we were back to the Tony Stark that we had for so many movies. Before the last 3 movies with Tony Stark, he has been so mopey and sad and brooding and angry. And I'm kind of glad to get back to this more sort of charismatic and flippant and fun version of Tony Stark. It doesn't really make sense, some of the stuff, like why he's behaving the way he is and what's happening with S.H.I.E.L.D. was kind of confusing. Doesn't really make sense coming off of Civil War, but I don't know. So that was a little bit of a negative, I guess. And the whole cast, I genuinely enjoyed. I thought that Michael Keaton was very solid in the role. I have a little more to say about him in a second, but it looks good. It's a well-made, entertaining movie. So I did have some problems with the film, though. First of all, I felt like it didn't give you that sense of like awe and grandeur when he's like flying through the air and I don't know, I would have liked sort of one scene where you get that sort of excitement and that sort of feel. And I get it that he's new and that he's young, and so you kind of want to see him failing and not succeeding. But so many of the Spider-Man scenes were him like crashing into neighborhoods and crashing into pools and stuff like that. And they even have like one scene where you see a little bit of Ferris Bueller's Day Off on a screen, and then him doing the exact same kind of thing that was done in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So that was a little bit heavy-handed, and it's just like, we get it. You're being a John Hughes kind of film, and we get that. But I would have liked to have seen a little bit more Spider-Man kind of thing. There is this great scene with him there's sort of 2 action scenes that are sort of the big scenes, and we see them in the trailer. There's a scene at the Washington Monument, but that's like, it's static. He's not swinging like a Spider-Man. And then we get a scene with this big boat splitting in half, but that's also kind of confined. And so I just think it would have been fun to have one scene of him having fun flying through the air as Spider-Man. But the other thing that I felt like that while Michael Keaton was good, I felt like he was kind of similar to what we've seen from Marvel. I don't quite understand why people are so excited about him. I felt like he was a sort of another kind of greedy man in a suit. I mean, he's a blue collar version of that, but I don't see what's so different about him versus Yellow Jacket and Ant-Man that people are very say he's such a lame villain, but it's basically the same thing. I mean, that the Michael Keaton character is upset about the business transactions with Tony and with the Avengers, and so he acts out in kind of revenge. And that's the same thing that happens in Ant-Man, happens in many, many Marvel movies. And so while this is by no means the worst Marvel villain, I certainly don't think it's great as people are saying, or people comparing him to Loki and stuff. I don't think so at all. But Michael Keaton's always good. So there you go. And I felt like there could have been a little bit better sort of explanation of I felt like some of the action was a little bit choppy and hard to follow sometimes. Sometimes it had the shaky cam, and the way it was cut wasn't like my favorite, but it was okay. And I don't know, I felt like what happens with Zendaya's character, I wasn't really that happy with. I felt like she was way underused and very like one note, and you're supposed to be kind of surprised by this reveal. I felt like the love interest in general was kind of not used all that well, and there's supposed to be this big reveal with the love interest, and I saw it coming from the trailers. I knew exactly what this big reveal was going to be. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I won't give it away because of spoilers, but to me, it was extremely predictable. It's funny, it's charming, it has those high school dynamics that I think people will really like. I enjoyed watching it. It's way better than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, in my opinion. Way, way, way better. And but I don't think it holds a candle. I don't think it's even close to Wonder Woman, in my opinion. Wonder Woman was so much more emotional of an experience for me. And I just think that it's a far superior in developing characters and that I cared about. And maybe it's just because she's sort of more in my demographic and I'm not in high school anymore. Because I do think if I was in high school, I would have really, really loved Spider-Man Homecoming. And I did really enjoy it. But I sort of left feeling like, I don't think that was really made for me, which is fine. But I don't know. So that was just sort of my thoughts. But I had a good time with it. I thought it was an enjoyable film. But yeah, I'm not that high on Spider-Man movies in general, but I don't think this is as good as Spider-Man 2. But we'll have to see where my rankings kind of pan out. I don't know. I have to think about it. I have to rewatch them and think about it. But it's a entertaining, solid film that I think you'll like. So you should see it and enjoy it. I thought the script was really a lot of fun. So let me know what you think about Spider-Man Homecoming. Where are you at on it? And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.